Rochester, New York is where I spent many years working diligently in the abolitionist movement. It is here where I opened my newspaper after splitting with William Lloyd Garrison, and I started the North Star, where we argued and made our position known that slavery should be ended immediately, without hesitation, and that the government should be at the forefront of bringing it to a legal end. My difference with Garrison was about how we should go about ending slavery. And I also felt that I needed to have my own voice. I needed to speak my own words and not just be a mouthpiece for Garrison and the abolitionists of his ilk. So we decided to form our own paper, the support of primarily European helpers and American subscriptionists and many of the people here in Rochester, particularly the Women Anti-Slavery Society here. We raised enough money to operate the North Star, where we argued that it was not only do we need the hearts and the minds of the people to change, we also needed the laws to change. We pushed hard for it. Here in Rochester, I was involved in many things. My dear friend, John Brown, and his failed mission to take the arsenal at Harper's Ferry and to start a rebellion with my brothers who are in bond. He came to my home and did much of his planning here. So here in Rochester, I had many friends and spent much time planning and moving forward, trying to bring an end to slavery. All of my children were here. After Brown's failed raid, I left as I was implicated in the plot. And while I was away in Europe, trying to get more support for our cause here, my youngest daughter, Anna, passed away. Annie, named after my wife, Anna. She passed away in 1860, which devastated me. I almost gave up hope on the cause, but I returned, and after a while returned to the speaking circuit, and we all know what happened shortly after that. The Great War broke out, and the move and the march to freedom was on. In my years, I worked with President Lincoln and other abolitionists, and my sons and other Africans to join in the fight with the Union to bring slavery to an end. My sons fought in the war, and after it was over, I moved from here to Washington, D.C., where I lived in the city for a while and then moved to Anacostia, to my home on Cedar Hill, where after many years of service in the government, working as an emissary to Haiti and Santo Domingo, I returned to the United States and worked in Washington, D.C. also as the recorder of deeds. And it is from there that I continued my work in the women's suffrage movement and to bring about equal and fair rights for all of my brothers who are now citizens. After many, many years, and after the death of my wife, Anna, I married Helen, who had been my secretary for many years. It caused quite a stir because she was white. My own son, my own children were opposed to it. With me, with a white father and a black mother, born into slavery, my father being my owner and the owner of my mother too, and me fighting for equality of all humanity, how could I turn away from where my heart truly was? It would have made my life and my life's work completely hypocritical. So Helen and I married. Further making things worse, she was 20 years my younger. But nonetheless, we loved one another and we lived together. And she continued my legacy long after my death. So after many, many years of hard work and diligence and commitment to the cause and to my people and to all humanity, on a cold February 20th night in 1895, after attending a women's rights movement meeting in Washington, D.C., I returned home to Cedar Hill in Anacostia, where I laid down for my last night. But it's here in Rochester, after I left New Bedford and the Garrisonians, that most of my work in the abolitionist movement came from here. And the people of Rochester were very good to me. Moved here in 1847 and left shortly after the end of the Civil War. For almost 20 years, I toiled here and worked very hard and diligently to bring about a better America and a better world for all humanity. May God bless this country, and may it rest and truly one day live up to its fullest capacity and do what is right and live up to its creed and the ideals that are embodied in its founding documents, and that those documents not be hypocritical and be used as a farce for those who would gain power and greed and wealth and avarice at the expense of the common man. Frederick Douglass, laid to rest here in Mount Hope Cemetery in 1894.